Let me begin by congratulating and praising the Honorable Minister of Finance for a stupendous job presenting this fiscal year's budget, Mr. Speaker. I stand to espouse all the fiscal measures proposed in this budget address because I can confidently and certainly say that they are going to engender significant and profound benefits for Dominica and for Dominicans everywhere, Mr. Speaker. And just to say to the Honorable Member of Finance, for you, Mr. Speaker, that we on this side of this Honorable House, and the vast majority of Dominicans are all very proud of you for the level of leadership that you have displayed by meticulously tailoring these plans and in a creative way, Mr. Speaker, putting these measures forward, obviously with the support of the Honorable Prime Minister and the rest of Cabinet, in an effort to circumvent all of these challenges which continue to affect Dominica and the rest of the world, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this budget offers a comprehensive overview of government's financial policies and plans. It is not just a presentation of numbers, Mr. Speaker. It is a transparent and honest conversation that we are having with the citizens of Dominica about the nation's economic health and the plan moving forward. In a truthful and relatable manner, the address acknowledges the economic challenges that Dominica faces, such as the ongoing recovery from natural disasters, Mr. Speaker, the need for infrastructural development, and the impacts of global economic shifts. And the truth is, Mr. Speaker, as the minister before me said, there are some people who has an issue when we speak about climate change, and has an issue when we speak about natural disasters affecting our country. But the truth is, Mr. Speaker, these are not excuses that we are making. No, this is the reality that natural disasters have impacted our country in terrible ways, Mr. Speaker. When we speak of Tropical Storm Erica in 2015 and Hurricane Maria in 2017, these aren't just things that we dreamt about. These are actual events that occurred. And not only did they occur, Mr. Speaker, but they impacted our economy exponentially, Mr. Speaker. Over 300% of our economy was impacted by these two natural disasters. Because I don't know if you forgot, Mr. Speaker, but in 2015, after the advent of Tropical Storm Erica, we were only able to drive on one side of the Hillsborough Bridge because the other side was completely compromised. And for the most part, we had to spend millions of dollars to construct the other side and to reinforce the bridge. I'm not sure if we can remember, $9 million, significant sum, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure if we can remember, but when driving to Makushri, the Makushri Bridge was completely gone. The same is true for Kulibishri, Mr. Speaker. And we used to use that bypass to commute to Kulibishri. I remember the first time going to Kulibishri post-Tropical Storm Erica, and the once green and luscious community and vibrant was left in ruins, Mr. Speaker. Majority of the homes were impacted, filled with debris, Mr. Speaker. Frowns on people's faces and tears, and I could feel the emotion, Mr. Speaker. I remember going to Bells, Mr. Speaker, and there was no bridge there. We had to jump over rocks and try to cross a river to get to Bells so we could bring food for people to eat, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and there are some people who don't want us to speak about these things. There are dozens of Dominicans who have lost their lives, brothers and sisters, children, aunts and uncles, mothers, fathers, and there are people who don't want us to speak of these things, Mr. Speaker. Ah, Magwe, sir, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I withdraw. I withdraw.
You don't know Magwesa in English.
I withdraw.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, and you know, sometimes I get emotional speaking of these things because I don't understand how we have Dominicans losing their lives and people are not speaking about these things. And people don't want us to speak about these things. Want Dominicans to continue being ignorant on these issues. I spoke about these 3 bridges, Mr. Speaker, or 4 bridges that were devastated during those tropical, those weather conditions, natural disasters. Mr. Speaker, the monies that we use to construct or reconstruct those bridges could have been invested in something else. So take, for example, Mr. Speaker, if we spent over $30 million to reinvest in an asset that we already possess, it keeps something else behind. So take, for example, every single farm road in the St. Joseph constituency could have been repaired, could have been constructed, Mr. Speaker. The Cowham Road could have been reconstructed 3 times over. The road in Atley could have been constructed in its entirety, Mr. Speaker. The Glogomere Road in Bells could have been constructed in its entirety, Mr. Speaker, at least 2 times over. The road under Layu Cliff would have been constructed, and the list goes on and on. So there are a mountain of challenges that we could have solved with those monies, Mr. Speaker. But the reality is, those natural disasters did happen, and that is the fact, Mr. Speaker. That is a fact. So I believe that Dominicans everywhere need to stand up and fight. Join the fight, Mr. Speaker. We need to join the fight. And now more than ever, I have to continue to fight for this country. Because, Mr. Speaker, what you may not know is that pretty soon we're going to have a brand new citizen of Dominica. If you know, you know, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the truth is, Mr. Speaker, the only way we can fight climate change is to be prepared to go at war with climate change, Mr. Speaker. And let me explain what I mean, because there are some people who are malicious. I'm not speaking about going and shoot the hurricane, Mr. Speaker, or body slam the tropical storm. No, that's not what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker. What I'm saying is, we as a people need to increase advocacy when it comes to those more developed countries contributing to climate change, to take responsibility and ownership for their actions and inactions, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it irks me to know that we Dominicans had to bend a knee. We had to bend a knee, Mr. Speaker, and really get ourselves to a position where we have to beg, not beg, but ask, depend on the international community for food and water, basic supplies, Mr. Speaker. And we were in a position where we're dependent on others to provide these things. And yes, we are appreciative of the assistance we received. But this is no fault of ours, Mr. Speaker. It was thrown on us. And we must extend our gratitude to countries like the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China, Mr. Speaker, have been all throughout. Tropical Storm Erica, they were there. Hurricane Maria, they were there. COVID-19, they were there. For the past 20 years, they have always been there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, they epitomize the saying that a friend in need is a friend indeed, Mr. Speaker. A friend in need is a friend indeed. And Mr. Speaker, while I'm on my feet, I must, in an unwavering say, that I espouse the one China policy. And I believe in the peaceful reunification of all of China, and that Taiwan and Hong Kong are inalienable parts of China, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19. I was at the epicenter of the outbreak of COVID-19 in Wuhan, Mr. Speaker. I was in Wuhan when COVID-19 started, and I saw what became of the Chinese economy. It affected the Chinese economy, like every other economy on earth, Mr. Speaker. I saw thousands of people dying every day. And the same hospital that is being lamented on every day, that they are lambasting every day, is what saved over 70,000 people in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. The 15,000 people they said that would have been killed due to COVID-19 was saved by this very same hospital, Mr. Speaker. And it would be remiss of me to speak about this and not thank the brave warriors who put themselves in harm's way, Mr. Speaker. The doctors, the nurses, and all of the medical staff out there, Mr. Speaker. They did a stupendous job, a phenomenal job, Mr. Speaker. And that is the truth. And this budget, we have to repay them. So what this budget speaks about is creating new positions, as the Honorable Minister just said, for nurses and other health care practitioners. And what you're going to find happening is that the salaries are going to continue to increase in an effort to keep our professionals in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government, this Dominica Labour Party government, is a proactive and prudent government. We are a forward-thinking government, Mr. Speaker. And the vast majority of Dominicans have subscribed and adopted our fundamental principles. Forward we go, forward ever, backward never, Mr. Speaker. Which is why the vast majority of Dominicans, Mr. Speaker, will continue to ensure that this Dominica Labour Party-led government administration remains in office to continue the great work that it has done and continue to do for the people of Dominica. And they will vote us for a plethora of reasons. such as for the completion of the international airport, the investments made in education, for the cruise village, the cargo port, hotels, the roads enhancement project, improvement in housing, the geothermal plant, the $127 million that has been invested for the completion of the East Coast Road, the 6 schools that are concurrently being constructed, and very importantly, Mr. Speaker, for placing Dominica on the right trajectory towards reaping true financial prosperity championed by our hero and leader in the person of Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt, carried forward ever, Mr. Speaker, backwards never. There is a saying, Mr. Speaker, that when it rains, it pours. And that saying is usually attached with a negative connotation. But in the case of Dominica, especially in terms of infrastructural development, we're receiving showers of blessings in Dominica. In the terms of infrastructural development, it's attached with a positive connotation. And we're receiving showers of blessings in the Commonwealth of Dominica. And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that Gola Plica Tobe in Dominica, and I'll translate that one, a lot of rain is falling in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, education is the foundation on which the future of our country is built. And this government administration has educated hundreds and thousands of young people, young Dominicans, all over the world, myself included, Mr. Speaker. This government has completely transformed the educational sector, and that is the truth. Sometimes you have to give Jack his jacket, and this Jack has educated many, many, many people. Mr. Speaker, and I say this with all sincerity and all modesty, Mr. Speaker, but I too am a product of receiving a scholarship from this government. The government at the time understood that my family did not subscribe to the ideologies of the Dominica Labour Party, Mr. Speaker. But irrespective of that, the Prime Minister recognized that I had a desire to build my country and look past politics, Mr. Speaker, and providing me with an opportunity whereby I could have furthered myself, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I say this to say that there may be young people listening to me right now. And it is my admonition to these young people to exploit the opportunities out there, because there are opportunities out there. Your political affiliation is not going to prevent you from getting these opportunities. No, it did not prevent me. And look at me today, Mr. Speaker. And I say this with all humility, Mr. Speaker. There are some of those who believe that everything is negative, and they have some high-class jobs, high-class paying jobs, Mr. Speaker, working in banks, and they are engineers, but they will come here in this honorable chamber and say to the young people of Dominica that opportunities are not available for them. Mark where, sir, withdrawn. Mr. Speaker, that is what you call wickedness. Mr. Speaker, in St. Joseph, the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the United Nations Children's Fund, in the last fiscal year undertook a project at the Caleb John Laura Primary School. And this project led to serious benefits in terms of educational quality for our students. Mr. Speaker, throughout the constituency, we have engaged at least 40 or so NEP interns to serve in the different schools. And ever since, we have seen tremendous increase in the performance of our students. And I am very proud, Mr. Speaker, to highlight the performance of Kenji Del Sol, a young student who was an island scholar at the last common entrance examination. And he did exceptionally well. And though I cannot garner all of the credits, Mr. Speaker, if not most of the credits, I can confidently say that with the resources that were provided in terms of teachers and the improvement of the facility at which he learned, Mr. Speaker, they definitely contributed and attributed to his success. So a young boy who lives in Mero, his mother is a very hardworking woman, a teacher. And I know that his family support meant a lot to his success. And I must recognize in a similar way the performance of Kenaya Philogen, who attended the Western District Seventh-day Adventist Primary School. She did an exceptional job, Mr. Speaker. I think she placed F on the island at the common entrance examination. You know, and I must commend the teachers and staff at the Western District Primary School, who also did an exceptional job. In the upcoming fiscal year, Mr. Speaker, we plan to fence the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School. The Honorable Minister for Education made mention that 200,000 US is being allocated to fence 3 schools, namely the Castle Bruce Secondary School, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and the Massac Primary School. So we will certainly benefit from this, Mr. Speaker. And no matter how small the amount is, I know I can pull a young man from the ghetto and tell him, hey, go on this little project. You can save at least $40. You can save $50. You can do something with it. That is the truth, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of the international airport, some people say we speak about this too much. But the truth is, Mr. Speaker, we don't speak about this enough. We don't speak about this enough, and I must commend the parliamentary representative for the Commonwealth of Marigot's constituency, Mr. Speaker, when he said that this is the most...
There is no Commonwealth of Marigot. Marigot constituency. Yeah, so let's leave
Point
that
taken,
alone.
Mr. Speaker, I was wrongly advised.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I am very happy when the member mentioned that this is the largest and most expensive. This was the most expensive, or is the most expensive project currently ongoing in CARICOM, Mr. Speaker. He's certainly correct. And this is the first time I have heard this member being so accurate and truthful in his deliberations, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we ought to advocate for the manifestation and completion of this airport, because what this is going to do is it's going to create more agricultural markets for us. More markets means more demands, provoking an increase in supply. So for example, Mr. Speaker, Corvin Charles, who is a prominent farmer from St. Joseph, would need to plant more white potatoes in order to satisfy the demands for the folks in the UK. Because we have found a market, let's say we find a market in the UK. So right now you need to purchase an extra vehicle. You would need to hire more employees. So it is having a trickle-down effect. More people will be working. More young men will be off the streets. More people will be actively engaged. And Corvin Charles will be making more money, Mr. Speaker. In a similar way, Lipson Marshall, who is a fisherman from St. Joseph, will also be able to sell more fish. In France, they may want to taste our delicacies that we have here, type of fish that we catch here in Dominica. So Lipson Marshall right now would have to purchase an extra boat from Bertley in Layu. So Bertley is going to receive money from Lipson Marshall. And right now Lipson Marshall has to catch more zoffie and more redfish, Mr. Speaker, so he can ship all the way to France. And in less than 10 hours, the catch that Lipson Marshall made would be on a table in France, Mr. Speaker, and a French family will be enjoying this. So, Mr. Speaker, this is the sort of opportunities that the international airport is bringing to us in Dominica, which is why we have to continue to advocate for the completion of the international airport. Asas in Meru, a very prominent businessman, he just recently ordered a bunch of beach chairs. Right now, he has to go and quadruple the amount when the international airport comes through, Mr. Speaker. He has to quadruple the amount because there are going to be so many people in Dominica. Even as we speak out of season, there are so many people in Meru. After the manifestation of the international airport, what do you think is going to happen, Mr. Speaker? My only fear is that we don't have enough capacity and resources to give to the people's demands. That is my fear, Mr. Speaker. People are going to be making so much money. Access is going to become a millionaire, Mr. Speaker. Because tout le monde can visit Dominica, Mr. Speaker. All sorts of people are going to come to Dominica. I remember growing up as a boy, whenever I see a foreign person, a certain group of people, I would always think that they have a lot of money. Whenever I see them, I would see the US dollar. And we are going to see many, many, many more of them, Mr. Speaker. And they will be coming with the US dollars, the sterling pound, the euro, and they are going to bring it here in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. And that's what's going to come with the manifestation of the international airport. That's what's going to come. And Mr. Speaker, some people lament all the time and talk about things hard, things this, things that. Mr. Speaker, the truth is we are living in trying times. The world is financially challenged. The other day I received a call from a very good friend that told me her rent was increased from £1,000 to £1,300, just like that. Cost of living is going up. Inflation is on an all-time high. But this is not the fault of just America or the UK or Dominica, no. These are existential threats that affect the entire world, not just unique to Dominica, Mr. Speaker. But some people try to make it sound as though only Dominica is experiencing these trying times. No, that's not true. Everywhere is feeling it. But the brilliance and the beauty of this budget shows us that irrespective of all of those challenges, we are proposing something that is going to circumvent and cushion the impact of those existential threats, Mr. Speaker. And I am pleased to announce to this honorable House that I was advised in a strong way that as of next year, it is the intention of this government administration to complete the road from York Valley Bridge to Salton, Mr. Speaker. And my...
10 more minutes.
That's okay, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Gloshu. Mr. Speaker, that's fine for now. My admonition to the young people and to the people of my constituency is that you take advantage of this opportunity. You exploit the opportunities that it is going to bring. If it means you put yourself in debt, you put yourself in debt and you go out there and you purchase land. You purchase land in the Lyre Valley area. Because the truth is, from the very first day an excavator is brought up there, the price of land is going to increase exponentially. So you purchase land. And I am more than certain this government administration will help you, especially if you're trying to get into an Airbnb business. My admonition is that we dirty up there with Airbnb, Mr. Speaker, and hotels. Because once this road is completed, to complement the international airport, this area is going to become an economic hub in the St. Joseph constituency. It is going to attract opportunities for investors and hoteliers and provide opportunities in tourism. And I know that the Minister of Tourism, knowing the type of person that she is definitely going to explore the opportunities this area has. Because we're speaking about river tubing. You can make investments in river tubing, Mr. Speaker, and hiking, and the list goes on and on and on. It is going to require a gas station. And it's going to attract a lot of development, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, there is also an existing hotel, which is going to attract a lot of businesses, Mr. Speaker. And very importantly, Mr. Speaker, this area is going to act as the main entry to farm roads in the Lyre Valley area. So it's also going to see a huge farm boost in that area as a result of the construction of this road, Mr. Speaker. So we're going to have a lot of traffic. A lot of tourists will be commuting on that road to and from the international airport. And that is the truth. Mr. Speaker, when the Honorable Minister of Finance made pronouncements that we are going to do some farm feeder roads in this financial year, and it was going to be done through the Ministry of Public Works, I looked at the Honorable Minister, and he was smiling, he was very happy. And then when he heard the inclusion of the Cowham Road and the Atley Road, he became a little bit nervous, because he knows that the parliamentary representative responsible for those areas is going to be on him like a tick, Mr. Speaker. And this, how did I describe myself last time? A sunfly? This sunfly has promoted into a centipede, Mr. Speaker. And I'm going to ensure that we get those roads. And I want to thank the farmers in the Cowham area and in the Atley area. They have been extremely understanding and patient, Mr. Speaker. Very understanding and patient. Very understanding, because they understand, of course there are reasons. They understand what times we are living in, that this is not a Barbie doll world. So of course there are reasons they understand. Of course there are reasons they understand, Senator Reid. There are certainly reasons. That irrespective of all of those massive and mammoth projects that we are working on, Mr. Speaker, to achieve, we are still making allocations for these projects. We have not forgotten them. And when these roads are completed, we are going to see more young people going back to their farms. So I want to thank them for their patience. Mr. Speaker, in this financial year, we'll address the road failures throughout my constituency. So for example, directly opposite the ITSS bus stop, this road failure right there is going to be addressed. Over $900,000 or so for this project. This is going to ensure that at least a dozen young men would be able to come off the streets from St. Joseph and actively engage in something positive, making their little monies, Mr. Speaker. It's also going to increase the safety of that area. In Penrise, over $600,000 or so will be invested to address the road failure there. In Layu, over $100,000, and the list goes on and on, Mr. Speaker. Tremendous mention was made by the Minister of Housing. I know she is listening about housing in St. Joseph. And similar to the Minister of Public Works, I know that the Minister of Housing heart is beating right now, Mr. Speaker, because we are coming for our homes. And I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy, Mr. Speaker. I'm very happy for the St. Joseph constituents. So we are elated for the duplexes and the homes that we receive in the St. Joseph area. And the particular area we are going to put those homes, Mr. Speaker, are going to almost immediately solve the challenge that those individuals are going through. And we'll continue to assist with housing repairs in other parts of my constituency, Mr. Speaker. So we are definitely getting our piece in the pie. It is very encouraging that huge cadre of young people, young professionals, are applying for land in the Hillsborough Gardens area, Mr. Speaker. The area oversees the majestic St. Joseph and Mirror Beach. This is, and land there, lots there are being sold at highly concessionary prices, Mr. Speaker. These are lots that the bourgeoisies and novociers would otherwise purchase, Mr. Speaker, being sold to the common man at very reasonable prices. And I must thank the Honorable Minister for what she is doing for the people of St. Joseph and the people of Dominica, Mr. Speaker. History will certainly remember this minister in a positive way, Mr. Speaker. In a very positive way. Mr. Speaker, last year, the Committee of St. Joseph hosted the Honorable Darron Lloyd Football League, Volume 1. And it was a very successful league. The young men of my constituency got an opportunity to display their skills and talents and to amplify the skills and talents that they already possess. And in certain parts, to discover some skills and talents. The Georgia team was the victorious team, Mr. Speaker. But if you were to ask me, the entire constituency won that league. Because everybody benefited as a result, economically and otherwise, Mr. Speaker. And I am very pleased to invite this Honorable House on Sunday at 4 o'clock, this Sunday, to the Bollarama, the opening ceremony of the Honorable Darron Lloyd's League, Volume 2, Mr. Speaker, in memory of Jameson Fruits Defoe. And I must use this moment to recognize and extend my sympathies and condolences to the family and friends of Jameson Fruitseed Defoe, Mr. Speaker, who lost his life in a very tragic way. May his soul, Mr. Speaker, and the soul of all the faithfully departed rest in eternal peace. Amen. Mr. Speaker, let me comment on the National Employment Program. I'm almost done. I'm wrapping up. National Employment Program. First and foremost, the National Employment Program is here to stay, Mr. Speaker. Currently, 4,044 interns are engaged under the National Employment Program, 1,345 of which are males. 2,699 interns are females, which means that 67% of the interns engaged under the program are women, Mr. Speaker. And Honorable Blanchard spoke about what would happen if they lost their jobs. Majority of that 67% of interns are single mothers, Mr. Speaker. And that's the truth. And we have divisive forces and opposition forces advocating for the end of that program, Mr. Speaker. Where is our moral? Where is our morality, Mr. Speaker? How can we advocate for a program like this to shut down, Mr. Speaker? How are children going to eat? When these individuals are working very hard and making an honest living to feed their families, and we are advocating in this country for the shutdown of the National Employment Program? Magwe Sam, Mr. Speaker, I withdraw. Mr. Speaker, I know of a number of individuals who are employed or engaged under the National Employment Program. who are now big men in society today. Neon Charles was engaged as an intern. I learned that at some meeting. He was engaged as an intern at companies and intellectual properties office. Today he works in the Ministry of Labor as a senior officer with the responsibility for the regularization of foreign nationals, right? Work permits. Mr. Speaker, we don't even have to leave this honorable chamber. Look at Senators Loggart and Roll. They started off under the NEP. Look at them today, Mr. Speaker. Big bosses. Mr. Speaker, as I'm on my feet, I would like to compliment my NEP teams for the fabulous job that they are doing. And all of the supervisors for the level of leadership that they continue to display, Mr. Speaker. My partner Loon, who is known as Leon, and Laurel Charles, and Brian Ofer, and Norrin Esprit, all phenomenal individuals. And they take their job very seriously. So I must recognize and compliment them for the great work that they're doing. In terms of constituency empowerment, Mr. Speaker, we continue to do what we can in this faction of the ministry, Mr. Speaker. Over this past year, we have engaged on a number of projects and programs. Every constituency office has all of the resources that they would need to otherwise function. And I know that all of my parliamentary colleagues, inclusive of the members for Marigot and Salisbury, are very happy that the funds or the stipends for the constituency offices had increased by 100%, Mr. Speaker. 100%. 100%. And I visited the office of the member for Salisbury. Mr. Speaker, what a luxurious office. What a comfortable office. And I must commend the honorable member for ensuring that her people are safe and comfortable when they come to our office, Mr. Speaker. Under this faction, Mr. Speaker, we have embarked on
1 more minute.
5 more minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the member be given an additional 5 more minutes to complete his presentation.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Lloyd be given an additional 5 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much, Mr.
You are
Speaker.
given an additional 5 minutes,
Thank you very
Honorable.
much. Mr. Speaker, and under this faction, we have embarked on a community farming project where we gave vegetable and fruit seedlings to over 200 families across Dominica, Mr. Speaker, and 6 schools, inclusive of constituencies in the east and the St. Joseph constituency. And the vegetable seedlings included watermelon, carrots, seasoning pepper, bell pepper, hot pepper, cabbage, lettuce, eggplant, and others, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, through this program, I remember giving a few trays of seedlings to my dear friend Guiv in St. Joseph. And he was very appreciative to the point that he brought back a very big watermelon to me, Mr. Speaker, very huge watermelon. 3 times the size of the biggest head in this honorable chamber. And Mr. Speaker, I will not call no names because that is not my style. That is not my style, Mr. Speaker. So my friend from Marigot can be at peace. I will not call any names, Mr. Speaker. So but we also provided training for various farm groups in several parts of the country, Mr. Speaker. We supplied, Mr. Speaker, 5 primary schools and 1 secondary school with vegetable seedlings, seedling trays, seeds, and other farming tools to aid the agriculture and school feeding programs. So we are playing our parts in Grand 4 and River Syric. The parliament can tell you that we invested over $30,000 to complete the frail drainage project. That was offset due to the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017. So, Mr. Speaker, in this fiscal year, during this fiscal year, the backyard farming program shall extend to the families and schools, in the southern and western constituencies, while continuing support in the eastern constituencies. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude my presentation, I want to firstly thank the good Lord for his mercy and his grace. for providing me the mental fortitude to serve my constituents, Mr. Speaker, in an effective manner. I also want to recognize a few instrumental individuals and groups who have been very profound to my development. First and foremost, the Honorable Prime Minister, the people of the St. Joseph constituency, Minister Kozia Frederick, Permanent Secretary P.S. Blackmore, and the rest of the staff at the Ministry of Environment. My mother and my aunt, Mr. Speaker, who have been phenomenal, His Excellency Martin Charles, Mr. Isidore and Mrs. Royer, and last but not least, Miss Tisha Grant and His Excellency Kelvin Darrow, Mr. Speaker. Oh, additionally, Mr. Speaker, my St. Joseph Constituency Association, the young and vibrant LYO or LWO, and every other person and organization whose name is too numerous to mention, Mr. Speaker. So with these few words, I stand in complete solidarity with the budget as proposed, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.